Ladies and gentlemen, it has sure as heck been a long time since we have last seen you, but myself, Dexatron, we are back for the 6th season of Faceit League. And Dex, I gotta say, last season was quite the adventure. We didn't quite expect the ending of, but everything that we have, I'm eternally thankful for. And we're back ready for the grind again, and we're starting out with this game right here, the second place of our expert division last season with an Anomaly taking on Extinction Zero, a team that just barely missed out on the playoffs last season and are hoping to make the difference this time.
Kind of had a little bit of a rough end to last regular season here in season 5, just missing out, like you said, by map differential, which, you know, does suck, but hey, they're still locked in this season, so they can still kind of try to run it back here, make sure they lock themselves in the playoffs this time around. Anomaly, on the other hand, like you said, second place coming up from expert. They were formerly Cross Soul, got picked up by Anomaly not that long ago. Hell, I mean, I made graphics for this game where Cross Soul was still the team that they were going to be referenced as, but Anomaly picking them up is a great move by them. Again, one of those teams that's coming up, one of those teams that, I mean, has a lot of good players on it, and you never know what one of these teams might be able to do, whether or not they're going to go the distance here or it's kind of struggle. But right now, with how good I remember watching the Cross Souls team play last season, especially in expert, I think this team has a lot to say here in this Masters tier.
I mean, yeah, this is one of the teams that was able to push a team like Network Rotation to the limit, a team that felt like one of those surefire teams to get into the Masters Division, which, of course, they have their own games going on. But right here, we're focused on the other team to make it through. Since when it came to the promotion relegation games, I believe both of the teams that were able to stay in between Boot Troop and Amplify ended up winning out, staying in the Masters Division. But, of course, these are the two teams we're focusing on here today. And thankfully, Dex, we got to talk to both these teams a little bit about what they like to do, who they really think their standout players are, and in this situation right here, at least over in the terms of what Anomaly is like, we are going to be following more of a emote down mid situation where they're going to play what they are more comfortable at, not necessarily what is meta, but what they're all good at, because we have seen that from example, like I said, from emote down mid, from London Spitfire, teams that are good at what they do and make it work in today's meta.
Yeah, I mean, like you kind of mentioned, they call it their own kind of anomaly composition, where it's maybe not something you see most other teams use, but they've really found a lot of comfort and a lot of success in playing that kind of composition. On the other hand, Extinction Zero, I mean, they were talking to me a little bit about how they've kind of gone towards a little bit more of a Ram Tracer kind of play style. They used to play a lot of Symmetra, and one of the teams last season in Faceit that really did kind of pioneer the Symmetra kind of trend, especially towards the end of the season, just wasn't able to get right here. They said that though that the Ram Tracer playstyle has really worked out a lot better for them. However, I feel like that Symmetra composition might still be there if they desperately need it here throughout the series tonight.
Yeah, 100%, and of course we're talking about those standout players as well, because obviously every team member that is on there is obviously important and worth talking about, but we asked the teams personally who they really think we should be watching out for. One of the people that came to mind, and the terms of Anomaly, was McChicken, which I believe is one of the, oh no, I'm not wrong.
It is McChicken.
Okay, no, I'm right in that regard. It is McChicken. That's one of the people that I'm really looking out for. But Dex, there was a couple of names thrown your way when we were talking about Extinction Zero.
Yeah, Mohiki was the one that I talked to for Extinction Zero, and they really told us that, hey, they really expect Sunnyside to be the person that we have to watch out for here tonight. They did mention that Elemental Guy, if they're able to lock him down, or I think Elemental Guy is actually on the other side, right? Yeah, Elemental Guy is one person they're actually watching out on the other side. They said, hey, if we can lock down Elemental Guy for Anomaly, they feel like this series is going to be one that should go their way here, but Sunnyside is the player to watch out here for Extinction Zero.
Yeah, 100%, and it's really exciting looking at both these teams as well, because it's very much different journeys between both of these teams. Obviously, one just making it from that expert division after placing second, and Extinction Zero, unfortunately, barely missing out on those playoffs after we saw teams that kind of placed lower have this really big fight back in the lower bracket last season. So obviously they'll want to be able to make the difference, but in terms of what Anomaly is hoping to do here, I mean, they have their sights on the moon right now. They want to keep pushing this as far as that go, they have those aspirations for OWCS just like any other team here playing in the Master Division is able to do, because unfortunately, none of the teams from this division last season ended up making it into OWCS. But I believe with everything we've seen from these teams that have come up, from the teams that we were able to see last season, who, for the most part, every player has stuck around in one form or another, at this point, it is anybody's game, because we have yet to see them tested against a lot of these Masters teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, right now, still, Rostomania is going on. And this is one thing that me and you talked about before we even got into this conversation here tonight for this series, that Rostomania for OWCS doesn't really end up until, I believe, this Saturday. So you could have players that are playing on Master League's teams this week end up maybe potentially getting moved up and causing maybe a little bit more of a stir down the line here. But it looks like for the lobby, everything is getting up and ready right now. They're making the bans, they're making the picks here. But again, Hunter, one thing that me and you were really impressed with last season, especially for the Masters tier, was how competitive it was from top to bottom. Even though you had some teams really struggle, they didn't go down without a fight. There were more map 5s than there were sweeps in NA Masters tier last season, which I'm kind of expecting maybe here tonight with Anomaly maybe being that underdog team coming up from Expert here tonight and Extinction 0, trying to make sure they can, start off the season on a good note.
I mean, that's exactly what you want to do in the situation right here. You don't want to go in having an 0-3 situation, but we have seen teams be able to bounce back from that, but you don't want to have to be in that situation and kind of force it down that pathway. So it's especially important for these teams to go out and make something happen. And hey, one of those maps that do it is Ilios, which we know is our first map in this scenario right here. This is normally something that kind of follows more into that dive category. You can force brawl in situations like Ruins, but typically this is where we see things like the Winston, the Diva, the Ball, even the Hazard come out in these situations right here. So as we're talking, we're waiting to get into this lobby and get things set away, as lineups are currently being finalized. But from everything we know about these teams, at the very least, Extinction 0 seems to be locked into place.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, both these teams do have a couple subs here in the lobby, or at least on Faceit. So we could be seeing that a lot throughout the night here. And we did see it a lot last season as well, where you would see people coming in and out depending on what map that we are going to. And hey, Ilios being one of those maps that is, in my opinion, Hunter, a little bit of a fun map, because like most control maps does give you a certain level of just flexibility when it comes to any kind of composition. You can play dive, you can play brawl, you can play rush, you can play anything you want here. Remember, Extinction 0, they talk about wanting to play a little bit of a ram tracer, which hey, does work out decently well on any map. But starting off here on Ruins, this might be the best map overall for this ram tracer, just not having to deal with the potential of being knocked off of the map.
Yeah, 100%. Talking really quick as we're going to get into things about the bans, because obviously it's worth noting, hey, everyone that was talking in the chat last season, hey, what are the bans? What are the bans? Ladies and gentlemen, you've got the bans. Lifeweaver and Diva are going to be our bans for this first map of Ilios. Lifeweaver picked by Anomaly, and then Extinction 0 picking Diva in this scenario, which honestly, with the way Lifeweaver has been played as of late, and the way Diva has kind of been a bit of a fixture in terms of strength, I think both these picks make absolute sense to get us started. Dexatron, I do not know whether you exist or not, so I'm going to keep talking as if you do, because at the moment I cannot hear you. Maybe the world can hear you. Maybe I just can't. So I'm gonna go with the assumption that nobody can hear you and make it a really fun situation. But either way, we are gonna get things started, ladies and gentlemen. Dex, I'll be waiting for a message from you.
I'm good.
Oh, hey, you're live. Getting things started. Hey, we're in this game. We are ready to go.
Yeah, and both sides coming out with Hazard here. I mean, remember, like I kind of said, we already knew that Extinction 0 wanted to potentially play it a little bit towards the Ramattra, but Hazard right now still in a very good spot in the meta. I mean, can't play that kind of Hazard playstyle, which is being able to absorb so much damage.
And 100%, I like the fact we're seeing the Hazards in this situation, right? It has been really effective in the dive. Has kind of been silent as of the last couple of months, but still has been extremely effective to work with. I like the fact we're working with these very high-speed compositions as well. But for the time being, nobody has gone down quite yet as Leo looks for the assassination. Not finding anything, as unfortunately, they're kind of caught up in a bit of a situation as Vengus hoping to go forward, look for the assassination, gets Cupid super low. Unfortunately, it's Bengus who ends up getting taken out at the end of the day as both teams trading out. And this fight still majorly going on, but the point is capped for Extinction Zero.
Yeah, but Extinction fighting Micaiah right there really does help them out here. Just make sure that they're going to be able to stabilize, and losing Bengus there for Anomaly was not necessarily who you wanted to see fall first, because you could deal with losing a support, you could deal with losing a DPS, you really can't lose a tank, especially with how vital Hazard is at the moment. But coming into the next fight here, I mean, pulse bombs will be ready here relatively fast, and however, Muhiki will also have that Kitsune Rush here, so you could see them come in very, very quickly.
100%. Pulse Bomb is also ready to go first here. It is going to go in, and Bengus just doesn't have the shield to work with anymore, so now it's full speed ahead. Unfortunately, Cupid does end up getting caught, but at the end of the day, we're going to see Extinction Zero push forward. Looking for the back half, though, is McChicken, who's close to making it happen right now. Recall ends up being used. Unfortunately, there's plenty of company sitting by to stop it, and now McChicken's just got to try to get with her life intact, as they're going to stick, but no cigar.
Ooh. Yeah, Hysteric, you'll be able to find McChicken out there. And right now, if you're Anomaly, I mean, yeah, you're still down one, but you want to come into a fight here. I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go with this.
Yeah, and you saw Micah try to find something there with the Bolo. Unfortunately, not really getting a lot of receipts. It has to be used as bodies are being caught up, as double support ultimates have been now used. Amandro wants to make it happen, and unfortunately, the feed has been used by Cupid to make it happen. And unfortunately, they're just getting a run down. Vegas trying to keep them inside of it, trying to find the assassination, but unfortunately, they have been separated from the team. Ooh. We're still managing to get Cupid, still getting some good separation right now, looking for the assassination, trying to knock them both off, or trying to darkness to survive, but unfortunately, Extinction Zero is looking for the 100 to nil.
And right now, I mean, you're going to get some staggering touches out here from Anomaly, but still, Extinction Zero starting off this map exactly how they wanted to. Overclock coming out here from Sunnyside, just looking to clean up the rest of Anomaly here, but still Anomaly getting those just staggering touches out here.
Yeah, but staggering at the end of the day is going to be staggering, as it really is just Bengus and Montro trying to make it back to hell, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen. That's a great start right there. If you're Extinction Zero, 100 to nothing, definitely some fight back from Anomaly, but again, this is an Extinction Zero squad that is wanting to make that impact that they just barely missed out on being able to make last season.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be probably a point that we bring up a couple more times throughout the night here. And, I mean, it's probably something that one Extinction Zero is a little bit tired of hearing, but hey, map differential being the reason that they missed out on playoffs, especially with how we saw that number 18, that number 8 seed in playoffs make a little bit of a run. You could have always just said, like, hey, that could be them here. But right now, like I said, their main goal probably coming in this game was just start off on a good foot. And right now, they are starting off with one foot in front of the other. They are walking right down the street here. Anomaly, I mean, again, we talked about it. They're coming up from Expert. There's probably some nerves there, but still, it just seems like a very confident team. They just didn't really put together a good fight that last map, or last point. I mean, there were multiple times where it seemed like Bengus was trying to maybe dive a little bit too far into the backline there, playing a little bit away from their team, and always ended up just being the first one to fall because of it.
Yeah, 100%, but just hoping to clean it up a little bit within this situation. As you see, playing that long range, I know, a Sunnyside over on Cassidy in this scenario, which is going to be really easy to help shut down someone like McChicken, who, to be fair, was having some impact in the backline. Just once again, we're back to the ideology of kind of just sticking onto the point, trying to fight on it first. No, it's going to be possible. Leo, though, perhaps a little too far in as we're starting to trade things out, but Micah gets the 2K, gets a 3, and that's a way to get them started, as that's going to be the first fight win for Anomaly.
And talk about a bounce back play from them there. I mean, they really struggled. Like I said, they didn't win a single fight, only got a couple kills in that first point. They start off this one really good. They just basically rotated all the way around the point, and yeah, while Extinction Zero tried to get set up, they just would never really allow them to. Bengus, though, again, what did I say? They really struggled to put themselves maybe a little bit too far forward. Gonna be able to escape this time around as the Bola shot comes out.
Yeah, nearly gets Cupid, unfortunately, doesn't quite happen, and again, the trades are coming through. Despite the way things have gone, there hasn't really been super clean fights. As we're seeing Extinction Zero trying to clean things up around, double supports hanging around with Bengus right now. But you gotta be careful, because Regime, unfortunately, gonna get caught out, as Leo and squad hoping to clean this up around, and right now, looks like an inevitability.
I mean, McChicken could come here to stagger out and just stall a little bit, but they're only going to do it for about maybe 1 extra percent, so 44. But hey, if you're Anomaly, you'll gladly take that. The only ultimate you used was a Bola shot you got very early on, so you're coming into basically the rest of your ultimates outside of that beat where Regime is kind of lagging behind Cupid's arrow here a little bit. But right now, look at Extinction Zero. They just want to take some space back.
That's exactly what you want to do in this situation right here. A weird trade out has come to form as McChicken and Cupid both end up falling down. Cupid has been calling out a lot here, but you see right now, Moiki popping up Sunnyside, taking a dive of sorts, it looks like, as Leo getting separated from their support is going to be able to dive away from being ulted. Unfortunately, it might not matter at the end of the day. You see everybody trying to make it back in time to go and help out. Moiki can only hit so many of those shots, and now just got to escape with the rest of their squad as Anomaly takes back over.
And talk about someone on Anomaly here that's really stepped up. Micah has just been a difference maker here, finding so much value on that Freya. Again, Freya can just pump out so much damage, and you normally want to have your Tracer be the one finding a lot of those kills, but Micah's still doing that here. Pulse Bomb coming out there for McChicken, not gonna be able to land anyone here, but I mean, Anomaly, if they play smart here, they could really drag this into where, even if it's a win or a loss fight for them, it could be one fight territory.
Yeah, and Moogie having to get out of there right there, and Bolo gets thrown to the stratosphere by the looks of it, and unfortunately, that is not going to work out all too well for Anomaly, who are back in the scenario of looking to stall this point for as long as humanly possible, but it is just McChicken remaining, likely going to end at that 85% marker. It's close to that one-fight territory. The bright side, though, is they still manage to hold on to Regime's beat.
They still have the beat here, but you look at the other side. Sunnyside has Bola, Hysteric not that far away from a Pulse Bomb here, and Muhiki, they can quickly build up to a Kitsune Rush here. But, I mean, if you're Anomaly, I mean, you saw Extinction Zero throw out 2 ultimates that last fight, so you probably know you have a little bit of advantage here, and they want to go early.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Bola gets thrown directly into the face right there. No one dead quite yet, but eventually it's taking its toll as we're back down to the 3v3. Both takes still alive as Leo and Vegas need to stay alive for their squad right here. Mikey getting super low. Leo managing to catch them out. We're down to the 2v2 decks. This might really come down to the scenario right here, because if you're able to take this back, it'd be the big time, but unfortunately, it's just Bangers and Vegas just has to reset for what potentially might be one final fight.
It's going to be one fight if Extinction wins. It's going to be 2 fights if we see Anomaly win here, but still, Pulse Bomb ready for Hysteric. Outside of that, Bangers and McChicken are the closest to their ultimates on the other side. Manjaro could also build up to their own Kitsune Rush here, but you need that to happen pretty quickly here.
Yeah, 100%. This fight, realistically, with the way the ults are going, could decide it right here. Montreux gets caught out early, and it's Leo showing up, hoping to put this map away. Is going to get downpoured right there. Unfortunately, it's only going to potentially delay the inevitable Pulse Bomb. Ready to come out as Mike, hoping to make it back over on that Sombra. Unfortunately, Regime going to be caught out. Just one more person left to touch within McChicken, who has a Pulse Bomb on. It's got to find something, start making some kind of impact, as Kitsune Rush has been activated. Mahuki and squad just hoping to end it right here and now, and that they 100% have done. They're going to finish Ilios 2-0. That is the start you wanted if you're Extinction Zero.
Absolutely, but Anomaly, they definitely did bounce back in that second round to really show us they have some fight in this series. However, it just wasn't enough at the end of it. They were able to win a couple fights back and forth, but you saw 6-0. Once they got control of that point, they never truly wanted to let it go. It took a couple good plays coming out from Anomaly to get back, especially on that second point. But, I mean, kind of like I said, Micah was someone who was a difference maker there for Anomaly in that map. Highest elims on that team. For them here with 12, and outside of that, you had no one else that even got double digits elims for the side of Anomaly. So still a little bit of growing pains here. It's game 1 of this season, so still you expect a little bit of rust here, as yeah, you know, you've been scrimming against probably a lot of the other teams here in this tier, but you are always trying something out. You're trying something a little bit different. Now with everything being real, it's a little bit of a different scenario here. And you look at Extinction Zero, and especially their stat line here, I mean, that DPS line did so much, combining for, I believe that is 43 kills on the side of them. When you look at the side of Anomaly, they only combined for 20.
Yeah, no, it's extremely impressive overall being able to pull that out in that situation right here. And we see that kind of dominance from teams in the past in several occasions. But of course, luckily in the first 3 series, there's plenty of time to bounce back, plenty of time to make the difference, because we played a very dive-oriented map in this situation with Ilios. But now, this is really the opportunity to go something that can kind of rely more on the sense of a brawl, more in the sense of being able to kind of not necessarily slow down the pace, but make it a little bit more linear, because you go to things like the Orisa, like the Ramatra, like the Junker Queen even, it becomes a lot more simple as to how you take these fights, but it still requires a lot of coordination, and with that being in mind, Dex, our second map of the day should be of no surprise.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. It's in the map pool. It's going to probably be one of the most picked maps across every series here this week and for the weeks to come. It's going to be Kings Row. It's going to be our map number 2 here. The first ban, I believe, coming out from the side of Anomaly is Lucio, so that's a fun ban here. If that is good. The second ban, though, it's going to be really interesting. No Lucio, normally kind of, I don't think it really hurts either team here. I mean, yeah, we saw Lucios come out from both sides, but each point had one of those Lucios kind of struggle more than the other here. The second ban is going to be really interesting to see here. Do you go tank, maybe try to ban out, say, the Hazard? If you're Anomaly, just try to, or no, wait. I'm getting all confused right now. Game 1 for a reason, man.
Yeah, we're all learning here today. We're all having new experiences. So at the end of the day, remember everything. We're doing a lot here, ladies and gentlemen. But just like last season, we will eventually make it work. We're just happy that y'all are here for the ride. But yeah, we're just waiting for that second ban as lineups are finalized, and then we'll be able to show y'all what the situation is. But we do know we're going to Kings Row. It's all about who's going to be attacking first and what the bans are going to be. We can confirm that Lucio at the very least. What's going to have to be a damage
Genji.
or a support. Yeah, Genji, which to be fair, I mean, I have seen some Genji players popping off, by the way, so it's really not a surprise that you try to get rid of a character here where, honestly, the way the verticality in this map is, I think it's a worthy pick here and now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you there. I think there might have been maybe a couple better options there. I mean, Freya was really dominating for both sides, but if you're Anomaly, you probably don't want to be banning out the Freya at all, considering Micah was really one of the only bright spots you had that first map. Yeah, everyone else kind of did a little bit better on that second point, but they weren't ever able to really match what the other side was doing there for Extinction. I mean, again, like I said, you just look at the difference in elims there for that DPS line. 20 for the side of Anomaly throughout that first map, 43 on the side of Extinction Zero. A big difference there, and kind of an area where you want to be able to bring that down a little bit here. But heading into Kings Row here now, looks like it is actually going to be Anomaly here attacking first. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come out with, because this is definitely a map where you could see a couple different play styles on it, especially on the offensive side on this first point. You could try to come out here running a little bit of dive, something that will catch the other team off guard so you can get that high ground first. You see a couple teams do that, or you just want to potentially keep that mirror going. Hazard's an option. I feel like this is definitely a Ramatra map, so you're kind of playing right back into potentially Extinction Zero's hands, because remember, that is what they said they like to play. But coming out of the gate, no, Hazard is being shown here again for Extinction Zero. On the other side, though, for Anomaly, they're at least teasing us with Diva. We're not going to talk about what they're playing anymore.
Yeah, sometimes we wait until the doors are open.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, I mean, right now, if you ask me, it does really seem like Anomalies could be potentially trying to set up something divish. Yeah, Manjiro on the Lifeweaver is not necessarily a part of that, but you could, I imagine it's going to be... I was going to say, maybe it would be an interesting play here to see the Doomfist punch out to see if they could get some recon and pull back in, but no. Going straight over to the Diva. It's actually sticking with the Lifeweaver here, so remember, we have Lifeweaver banned out map 1. It might be a strategic ban that came out there map 1.
Honestly, it seems like that's becoming a big possibility, as obviously right now you're hoping to get as much momentum as possible, get through this first point as fast as you can if you're looking for the separation. If you are Leo, though, is going to be eventually pulled back, as both squads making a very effective use of the character that was banned out in the first map. But Leo keeping it strong once again. Regime being taken out. Unfortunately, that means Anomaly is not going to be able to do a whole lot, but with the Zerg down, they can recover quick.
Yeah, especially since they have the spawn advantage as well. You really want to try to take this advantage. Knowing that Tracer isn't there, knowing that you could allow Zika to maybe play a little bit more aggressively here, you have to go fast, and that's exactly what they're trying.
Yep, I like the fact they're trying to go quickly, trying to make it happen, taking advantage of the fact that Hysteric's not back in the fight, but Muhiki going down is definitely going to assist in that endeavor, as they have to just try to go down, and once again, Lifeweaver grip over onto McChicken. Leo in a rough situation, just sitting super low, getting separated from the squad, eventually taken down, and with the Kingpin gone, unfortunately, the rest of the team is gonna just back up, and you gotta wonder whether or not they even consider a touch.
they're gonna probably consider touch. See Hysteric right there, just looking for potentially Sunnyside finding regime out. Yeah, they're definitely gonna find potentially the option for a touch. Oh no, there's a canceled Deadeye.
Oh, what a stick by McChicken too. McChicken showing up, and that is definitely gonna be the first point right there. I got a little scared in that situation, but Anomaly popping off and getting through that first point in pretty quick fashion.
Oh, Micah finding out Leo was waiting in the wings. Micah gonna take themselves out with one of those take aim shots, but in this situation, it's not necessarily the worst thing.
Yeah.
Because that card's not that far away. However, I mean, that's exactly the kind of start you wanted this map of your Anomaly. You really struggled just getting anything going last map. You were able to win a fight there. You were able to get this first point, and now you're rolling through. If you can shut down Leo, you could probably do a lot more this round.
Yeah, 100%. Leo having used a ton of that block, though, gets boloed, but eventually gets pulled out of it. And now Poultry's ready to go. One has been used pretty aggressively. Montreal gonna hold on to theirs for the time being, but just like that, it's gonna come out. Leo trying to be separated as the D.Va ends up being pulled away. And now it's all about keeping your tanks alive. Leo's gonna let loose on it, unfortunately. It's not gonna mean a whole lot as Bomb ends up being used, takes over all that space as his Zero once again gonna get pushed back.
Push back here, and Micah again picking up right where they left off from that last map, really doing a lot here early on, getting rid of Sunnyside, and I like what we're seeing here from Anomaly. Now they're just pushing up, taking that space. However, I mean, Manjaro got off the cart there for one moment. You want to keep it going, because right now, if you lose a fight here, it's very, very difficult, and you finally see Extinction go over to that composition they really talked to us here about on the Ramatri here now. Regime, though, wants to play fast.
Yeah, both teams apparently want to right here. Double Kitsune Rush, but ultimates are much more on the table when it comes to Anomaly. Pulse on ready to go. Unfortunately, Micah, though, being down means you don't really get the opportunity to use the bolo shot of a chicken once again. Trying to keep their squad within this, try to keep that magic going right here. Regime, though, is in a rough scenario, ends up being taken out eventually as they trade out with Sunnyside. But for Extinction, they should be able to stay stabilized for the moment being.
And if you're McChicken, you really need to get out of this kind of engagement you're in. You're in a really bad spot, and that's costly. Especially since Zika just got their mech back. You're basically just gonna have to completely back out of this one here now and regroup if you're Anomaly. Granted, you still have just under 3 minutes on the time bank, so not necessarily the worst thing, but kind of like I said, Hunter, if you lose a fight around where Anomaly did, it's very difficult to get going again without the investment of 1, 2, or heavy investment of ultimates.
I mean, 100%. Now you're in the scenario where you have 2.5 minutes. It may seem like a lot of time for the situation, but for how long it takes to reset for these fights, it's a lot less than you would believe, as Zeka just kind of looking for a moment as Bolo Shot has been activated. Unfortunately, once again, these solo targets are just getting pulled away every time, but Cuban being taken out means that's not the possibility anymore, as Derek, you can see them getting some pressure away, eventually going to combine in and get rid of Micah. Turning to a 4v4 situation, Zeka ends up being pulled out, so once again, the pace is going to slow back down as Tree of Life has been used. Cupid is close to theirs, but unfortunately, Cupid is not on the scene, which means they don't have the ability to support themselves as much, as Anomaly is able to, and now Leo has to make the difficult decision whether or not to ult in this scenario, and it's a tough decision, honestly. You could go either whip with the capture tree there. I mean, you could pull this off, you could make it happen, but Leo's just waiting for that choice.
I mean, the tree's gonna allow them time to get back into this fight here. So that Annihilation is gonna be held on to here. McChicken's still holding on to the pulse bomb here, so they're waiting for the opportunity. Not gonna be able to find it this time around. That Annihilation is now looking better and better.
Yeah, it is. And now a minute and a half on the board here. Annihilation still sitting by, as you said. And now Zeka just trying to escape with that mech attack. Does have the bomb just in case and looks to be kept alive for the time being. And now the ult game beginning to catch up with both sides. Each going to have 3, make it 4 with Hiki coming up shortly.
Yeah, Anomaly really needed to win that fight there and cap the point when they had that last tree. That was a very costly ultimate, and hey, it's one of those better ultimates that right now for supports. You're now looking for something from someone else on your team that doesn't involve finding a pick with an ultimate. Pulse bomb out though from Hysteric, gonna be eaten up by Zeka. That's a play you need there, but you cannot lose McChicken right after.
Yeah, McChicken being down does open up the possibility of just taking back this fight once more. With 40 seconds on the board here, you just might, you're going to see them back out. You want to keep everybody alive because you are going to go into final fight territory. And if Zeka gets demech, they're going to have to eventually use the bomb because there's not enough time to take a reset. So Zeka absolutely needs to stay in it.
And right now, I like what Extinction is doing here. They're taking a lot of space. They understand their situation. They have Annihilation to get them out, but they no longer have the Tracer. Cover Hunter, Manjiro has Tree of Life back here.
Yeah, 100%. Leo hoping to get that pulled on onto Micah. Didn't quite happen as they eventually need to be pulled away. But they're going to have Annihilation on this corner. Tree Life has been used. And now you can kind of wait this out a little bit. You can kind of separate everything as everybody's being pulled down. Leo waiting for that tree to go away before you can really let that Annihilation use. But now tree has been used by Cupid. And here comes the aggressive Annihilation trying to pull away. You want to find Manjaro more than anybody, but it's going back and forth. Everybody hanging on the high ground, but Leo can reach them. You cannot be stopped right now as eventually with the help of the Annihilation, that bomb not catching on anybody's. A rematch will not come to form either, as unfortunately for as good of a start as it was for Anomaly, they'll be stopped just before the second checkpoint.
Yeah, like I said, where they lost that fight is kind of essentially it's no man's land. It's a spot you do not want to be if you're on the attacking side. If you're on the defensive side, oh, you love it so much right there. And you saw right there why Extinction probably liked it a lot. They're able to just play back, go into the boundary if they really needed to play cover. And then when they saw their opportunity to push up a little bit, take some space, they did that. It forced Anomaly into spots where they were just uncomfortable. They were rushing to get stuff going back there. And again, you knew that entire time that Annihilation was ready for Leo. Everyone on Anomaly had to know that was ready to go. They just could not force it out before them. That was the biggest thing. Like, if you had won a team fight handily before Leo had even used that, you would have gotten that second point. They would not have invested it on that second point hold. They would have held on to it for third point. But just a great play there by Extinction to really stop what was looking to be a really great round by Anomaly. And now you give yourselves a very winnable condition here. However, I mean, hey, it's a double-edged sword here. That's a good side. That's a good stopping point for the defensive side. Well, now you're on the attacking side, so you have to be able to do a little bit better here. However, coming out of the gate, you do see Zika showing us a Ramatra here for the first time. Leo going over to the Hazard. Again, this has kind of been their go-to so far. But outside that, I mean, it seems like they're kind of teasing us with their picks here.
Yeah, a little bit of playing run. I would be surprised if Sunnyside did legitimately start out. I imagine they might just get pulled back in after a shot or two, but oddly enough, over on the side, so we're going to see the shot going to go up in the air. No cigar, as they're going to get pulled back with Mihiki, and we'll take the swamp.
Cupid threw out the immortality field there just to try to, have it act like a flashbang or something. It worked. Then they swapped over here to the Life Weaver, which, again, not necessarily expect to see a lot of Life Weaver here, but Regime finding Muiki out. You want this right now if you're Anomaly.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want to have right here. Leo eventually going to get pulled back. Still is under a bit of pressure as Manjaro being over on the Ana is definitely interesting, but I think for point A especially, I think this can have a ton of value, especially when the only person who can really reach Manjaro in any capacity is Hysteric. And even then, that's barely as Leo gonna get rid of McChicken early.
He's gonna already have to use that Nemesis form right there to put out of a bad situation. Right now, I mean, if you're here, there's no trace on the other side. You can play a little bit aggressively here, but I like what they're doing. They're playing a little bit slow and just kind of buying their time and getting some progress on that point.
Yeah, and Zeka's just in a really rough situation right now. You're going to see all this pressure being thrown directly over onto Regime, trying to force out all those cooldowns. As one tick already has gone through here for Extinction 0 as Anomaly kind of just looking for the opportunity to get back into this fight. With Leo going for the high ground, the possibility is there, and Micah getting that nano, popping off. Already gets rid of Sunnyside and only going to let a tick go as it looks like Leo Mihiki are in a bit of a rough scenario up top.
I mean, right now, though, I mean, if they could stay up there and be safe, I mean, I don't think you're necessarily mad about that. You do force Regime and McChicken down to that low ground, so you're still in a good spot here if you're really Extinction 0. You have ultimates coming up. Same thing could be said, though, for Anomaly. You're just down the nano.
Yeah, and now you're getting back into this fight just as quick as you were taken out of it. Consider Rush is you super quickly, and we go down as a solo out on the mic who just lit that Deadeye loose, and now it's a DPS coming up on top for Extinction 0. Zeka separated from the rest of the squad, and unfortunately, there is no squad to be separated from anymore as Manjaro, last person standing with that on a speed, trying to get out with their life. And it looks like with that sleep, they should be able to.
They should be able to right there, but now you see that golden box of
What?
downpour coming out, and Micah. No, I like this. I really do like this from Extinction 0. They want to play aggressive. They want to make sure that they are really forcing Anomaly into a complete reset, but losing Hysteric is not necessarily what I see happen right there. And you see Muhiki, Leo just decide, hey, let's back up. We got some space. We got rid of basically holding at arches, which I think was their main goal with that, and they were able to do it. However, Pulse Bomb, Annihilation, not that far away from a Nano here for Anomaly, so you're in a really good spot. Deadeye, which hasn't been a good ultimate so far this game, and Muhiki does have another Kitsune Rush ready to go, and they're already going fast.
Yeah, and that means no Nano to work with either, so Zeka is just gonna keep holding the shield, and he's gonna pop the Annihilation. It is a desperation move for sure, but you have to stay alive within this situation, so it ends up just kind of being at a place to stay alive as Extinction Zero are just gonna keep pushing forward and forward and forward. With 3 minutes on the board, they're sitting pretty. There's a lot of ultimates to be ready for Anomaly here momentarily.
I think Anomaly is perfectly fine where the card is right now, having it be pushed up there for free, because now they can play in those close court areas where this Rumacha finds a lot of value. Deadeye up to the sky!
Yeah, and that's something you see every day. Anti on to Sunnyside, not going to stop them, but it's going to cause a little bit of separation. Manji eventually going to send it in, hoping to get some value off the Nano. Micah, who is moving forward, trying to find some bodies, uses the ult and unfortunately dies. Using so, trying to solo ult Zeka there, who is kept up by both of the supports. Unfortunately, now it's a Kitsune Rush being used because they realize this is complete desperation time. Regime being taken care of. And now Zeka just has to die on to the point, and now Michigan, the only realistic touch here, and it's not looking pretty.
I mean, McChicken is there. They're going to have to make the touch. They have Pulse Bomb, which, I mean, could do something here, but you're just looking for anyway. Pulse Bomb is out on the Heretic, but it's not going to be enough, and there's not going to be a touch either. Extinction Zero keeps their winning ways, putting them out into a series point.
Yeah, and that is an already situation, and I mean, there's definitely more fight back coming through from Anomaly, but this is an Extinction Zero squad that, for the most part, had themselves figured out last season. But in this situation right here, what I really like that they're doing is they're doing a fantastic job at ult trading within this scenario. They're not always going first, but they are making very effective use when they go second. Like the time where you wait for the Deadeye and then you go ahead and use the barrage, you trade the 1-for-1, you're ultimately getting value, because if you're a Cassidy and Deadeye, there's nothing you can do in that situation. There is nothing to realistically save you unless there's something, you know, basically dumped for the cooldowns in that scenario. So I think it's beautiful the way that they're going about it, the way they're making it happen. It's all about Anomaly now having to make that adjustment, being down 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the stats for this map, I mean, Anomaly, they really did improve on the areas where I wanted to improve on. That DPS line was really able to narrow that gap. Actually, they had a little bit of better performance than Extinction Zero's DPS line there, but it was just that defensive play, and really I think it came down to the tank play for both sides. Zika was able to do a lot for Anomaly, just wasn't really able to get over the hump there, especially going up against Leo, who I don't know if you were seeing it there in that final fight, the final true fight, but Leo was basically on about 1 or 2 5, I'm gonna say 5 HP, and they had taken care of the Tracer for Anomaly, and they were just kind of sitting in a corner by themselves, none of their supports around, and no one on Anomaly was really looking at them. I mean, you get rid of Leo right there, you have to remember what Leo did right after that. Dove onto your Ana, then dove onto your Kiriko, who had to use the Kitsune Rush just to try to keep a fight there going, but it just wasn't enough there, as Leo was just able to stay alive just long enough and find the right picks to really make a big difference there, especially at the end of that map. Like we kind of said, Hunter, I mean, Extinction Zero, they barely missed out on playoffs last season, two up in this one. However, like I said at the start of our stream, NA Masters here is known for a lot of map 5s. And right now, Anomaly, the only way we can get there is if they start the reverse sweep, which, hey, there's still a good opportunity for them to. Like you said, there's a lot more fight back, and I think, honestly, that was a better map for Anomaly.
Yeah, no, it 100% was a better map for them, a lot more of a fight back, but they eventually ran into this brick wall of Extinction Zero. Once again, that alt economy game, it's what's really working out for them in this scenario, because you see a lot of the time people like McChicken who are finding these picks very consistently, mind you. I mean, Manji is being able to stay alive pretty consistently as well through a lot of these very heavy fights. But you go to the other side of things, and you can pretty much say the exact same thing. Leo is just a machine that will not die in these major fights either. You have, someone, Lux Sunnyside as well, who is sticking a majority of these pulse bombs. Maybe they're not necessarily killing every single time, but they are sticking and they're having effectiveness. So at this point, it's all about trying to make the difference, trying to figure it out, because when you're in a series like this, especially your first one in Master's Tier, you do have to kind of figure things out and make those adjustments and learn as you go along.
Yep. And hey, as you're talking about that, map got finalized, bands got finalized. Our third and potential final map of the night. Well, we're going to be heading Circuit Royale here in the bands this time around, Hunter. It's going to be Juno and Freya. Juno is an interesting one, considering I don't think we've seen a lot of Juno at all this series. Freya, though, on the other hand, kind of been a good pick here for both teams, especially when it comes down to those DPS heroes. Micah showed us a lot on map 1. Same thing with Sunnyside. I mean, we saw a little bit there on map 2 as well, but they started to go away from it here. This is a really good map, though, for Freya, so not necessarily the biggest surprise being banned out here. However, I mean, Hunter, when I think about this map, I think about the unique playstyles and compositions we normally see with it. And this does lean into, hey, we could see Lifeweaver come back into play. Do we see Iari? Do we see May come back? Is Sim here? Remember, Extinction did talk to us a little bit about the fact that they used to be a team that ran a lot of Symmetra. Now they've started to go away from it, playing this Ramatra Tracer compositions here. And right now you do see the Ramatras coming out for both sides, but no Tracer. However, Iari's for both sides, no Lifeweavers, which has been a surprisingly popular pick here for both these teams. Instead, it's going to be the Baptiste.
Yeah, Baptiste coming out here. It is that poke style map, so having the Baptiste, having the Illari out here, these are kind of more expected of what we would see. Obviously, you could 100% still run the Lifeweaver. Nothing stops you, and apparently nothing is potentially going to stop Manjaro, as we will see the potential appearance of Michigan on the Hanzo, which a character that's just really good at shield break. So if Leo's going to be hanging around this corner, if Michigan's going to be constantly pot-shotting with him, it could become difficult to hold on to it.
Yeah, now everyone on the side of Anomaly knows that Hysteric is on that Pharah. They have to basically kind of stick around corners. Venga's so very low already here. You don't want to see them fall early.
No, 100%. You do not want that, but you're trying to force Leo out of the situation and get them back further and further, but you're going to see the Nemesis form being activated. Just try to hold on to it a little while longer, and successfully so it is done, as eventually going to get the room to get rid of that healing pylon as Leo. Also a bit of an awkward situation, as both healing pylons have now been taken care of, as Leo is eventually forced to back out, because the moment that Nemesis is up, they could get blown away as they just keep backing.
Yeah, I mean, right now, again, we saw this a lot last season, that the defense team would normally just give up some space here once they get some pressure from the attacking side, and this is normally where they pick it right back up at this bridge here. But right now, Hysteric still just being a little bit of a pest in the skies, and that's exactly what you want them to be. You want that burst damage there for potentially someone like Sunnyside, someone like Leo to really clean it up.
Yeah, 100% right now. Seeing an early Nemesis here from Vengas right now, and that means Leo is going to be able to go aggressive on this secondary one. It works out brilliantly, getting rid of Micah, and now Vengas is being just basically like pulverized on the corner momentarily. Luckily, does still have the double heals to keep them supported away, but unfortunately, they still can't do anything by the fact that they're still down.
And right now, Vengas going to be backing up using that entire Nemesis form just to keep his arms up and absorb as much damage as they possibly can here. But Ultimate's coming online here. I mean, Dream Life for Manjaro could be something that really does help them out here, and especially the Captain Sun as well. A lot of burst damage does come from that. However, Vengas really needs to stay alive. Same thing could be said for Mike.
Yeah, 100% could be said. You saw Leo waiting and being very patient on using the Nemesis as well. Obviously, there's instinct to use it aggressively, use it as quick as possible so you can get out of there. But Leo just kind of hid behind the car, kind of managed that space. But now, Ultimate's becoming a factor, and they're especially a factor right now for Extinction Zero, as all 10 Ultimates about to be online.
A full house for each side. I don't know which one's going to have the aces high.
Well, apparently Regime is hoping to be the one, and hey, apparently that is going to be the case right here, as you're trying to find something with the barrage. Hysteric will end up getting rid of one. Unfortunately, it is just the stall game. As do they know? Do they know? Okay, they figured it out, as Leo just going to stall it out. Take their sweet time, because now Hysteric is just going to go with the Symmetra and get Leo out there in time for the fight.
I mean, here's a big thing. Even though we talked about all 10 ultimates being ready, each team only used 2. Actually, no. Anomaly only used the Captive Sun there. They have all their ultimates coming up here. That Tree of Life is going to be huge here. However, you have to be watching out for Cupid's Arrow and their own Captive Sun, especially with the Annihilation ready for Leo. It could be very, very explosive, Hunter.
Yeah, and we have a very aggressive start here from Sunnyside. The Captive Tree has been used and getting taken care of pretty quickly as well. Sunnyside going to be thrown down Captive Sun by Cupid's Arrow, hoping to find some kind of receipts. It catches on to McChicken, and it will blow up, and it catches on to Micah as well. That's how you wrote it up right there, as eventually Regime will get some revenge, but it won't matter in terms of this fight. And now with 40 seconds on the board, unfortunately, for Extinction Zero, they just have the one ultimate sitting by now.
Yeah, and I mean, they have the one, however, it's the Annihilation, which Leo has shown us in the past, especially last map, that they are basically going to hold on to this for the final fight. However, you're going to have dueling Annihilation, the Dragon from McChicken, and the Overclock from Micah might be the difference here right now for Anomaly, but they need to get going now fast, because you cannot afford to lose someone early.
You cannot. Sunnyside getting a little aggressive here as Micah sitting by, hoping to find something, and now everything being thrown into Leo. Cupid's arrow is the first one to go down. Mohiki up in the air. Eventually, not going to be called out as Micah trying to get out. Unfortunately, won't get out alive, and now Leo just needs to be given care throughout the entirety of this experience. Eventually going to try to run them down, and they can't even go and touch the point. So 93 meters is all that separates Extinction Zero from a 3-0 victory to start the season.
I mean, it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable for both sides. I mean, we have seen holds like this be followed up by even fuller holds. I mean, this is a map that is known for that, at least when me and you cast it, Hunter. But, I mean, right now, I think the biggest thing that really happened that last round was the fact we did not see the dragons come out from McChicken. I understand they were trying to get... I think they were getting positioned for it, but that overclock... or no, the railgun shot coming out there from, I believe, Sunnyside made such a huge difference there, getting rid of a huge ultimate that would have definitely trapped a lot of members of Extinction Zero away from the rest of their team, and potentially even maybe got them off the map, which would have been an instant win there for Anomaly. But right now, I mean, you have to play smart here if you're Anomaly. I like Micah coming out here on the Mei. I think it's a little bit better, especially just trying to make sure you get rid of Leo, because you remember going back to King's Row, the most success they had was getting rid of Leo early on in fights. If you let Leo kind of hang around a little bit, you're going to have a harder time.
Yeah, you really are, and you're going to see a bit of this adjustment here with that Mei being around, which, honestly, this is something we saw a lot last season when you came to a map like Corral, is teams going towards that Mei, and they would just attempt to hold these corners full force, because if you're a Sigma or a Matrix that gets caught out on the other side of it, there's not a whole lot that can honestly be done for you in those scenarios.
Absolutely. Coming out of the gate, though, I mean, Sunnyside on this Widowmaker, I like it, especially just for trying to find an early pick, give your team that advantage, and it really does force now Anomaly to play around corners, basically giving Extinction Zero so much space for free.
Yeah, it's all the space in the world for free, as Hysteric already getting super low, but just have plenty of care to work with right here. As they've already taken over this very first corner. They are just pulverizing their way through, but now this is where the tough part comes into place, because now Micah is going to have this wall, and Leo has to play very careful getting past this area.
The wall, I think, was already used, because they could have trapped Leo off right there, but right now, still, you have to deal with Hysteric there, just being able to pump in so much burst damage right now. You're really looking at Micah, you're really looking at McChicken to find them out of the sky.
Yeah, Leo gonna be caught on the side temporarily, but Micah, gangster below, forced to use the ice block, and having no wall to protect themselves after the fact means you have to go and play aggressive. People are Vengas, people being pulled down, being pulled away. Sunnyside sitting at 1 health. Eventually will be finished off by McChicken. As Leo being taken out means they will survive this first big fight, but still 2:45 on the clock. Still a lot to do, as ultimates, for most of the players, honestly, going to be a factor quickly.
I mean, again, we saw this last round, or the first round here, where each team basically built up to all 10 ultimates before we even saw one get used. I would not be surprised if that's the case here. It's really a fight. It's really been an entire series of just responding from each team here. And so far, Extinction Zero has been the better team at responding. That damage, though, from Mohiki, I would not be surprised if it comes out here very, very early just to try to force back Anomaly here.
Yeah, one's about to be in the slightest either. Micah's in a bit of a rough scenario. Has to try to live. That ult is super important. Unfortunately, is not going to get it off, and this could potentially become the beginning of the end right here. It is a 5v4 in favor of Extinction Zero, and you see them taking their time. Eventually going to go in. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this fight, hoping to make it happen. And Cupid's arrow has gotten rid of two, hoping to find the hit to get the third, but it doesn't come through. His regime will explode and eventually go down as bodies. Trying to make it back over onto the point right now. Hysteric could just go for the solo wall to try to end this, but they realize maybe you don't even need it. You can maybe get rid of Bengals without it, and you can, and now it's just going for the stall at this point. Freeze on the point in Dex. This is looking like it could potentially be good as over.
But this overclock from McChicken might make a little bit of difference here, but they need to find value with it early.
Ooh, and that's value if I've ever seen any, and that is going to be a nice shot, but Cupid Zero's hanging around. They only have 1 meter. It's basically a 2v2. Spondro burned away. Bengus cannot make it back in time, and that is a big time clutch to end the series out. Extinction Zero going to take the 3-0 to finish things out with their first matchup, and I mean, this is a very game Extinction Zero starting out the season.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, we touched on it. They're probably not necessarily happy with how last season ended. They looked like a team that really took the offseason here, got better, practiced a lot of stuff. Like Clay said coming into the series, they were a sim team for the most part. They played a lot of symmetric compositions. They went over to a Ramatra Tracer kind of play style. We didn't see the Tracer there that last map, but still, you saw the Ramatra. You saw just the entire cohesion that the team was really working with. Leo is an excellent tank, and we saw throughout every map, Leo was making a big difference. That DPS line had a really good start map 1, but kind of stagnated as that series went on, still doing what they need to do to really help out their team in every fight. But Leo, I think, was the main linchpin. And even something that I kind of talked about, Anomaly, when they were able to get rid of Leo early on in fights, really were the fights they always ended up kind of winning, because it allowed Zika there to just kind of play more aggressively into a lot of stuff. And kind of, you saw Anomaly there really come into, or Zika and Bingus come into their own there a little bit, being able to take space, play aggressively as they want, especially when they were both playing that Ramatra.
Yeah, 100% ends up being a beautiful display for the squad to get things started. But as you kind of already alluded to, Anomaly came in fighting in this scenario. And I still think, obviously, the world is their oyster when it comes to this season right here. We've seen so many teams that started with some bad games but made their way and, got themselves into a playoff position. We could say the very opposite as well. Teams that started strong kind of falling off at some point. So with the team that has just come into the Master Division as well, it is kind of about establishing yourself, about figuring things out as you go along. But obviously, it's only a first match. There's plenty more to come for them in this scenario right here. As I can't remember who their opponent is coming up this Friday, because I know Extinction Zero is taking out another former expert team within Nightmare Rotation. That's going to definitely be an interesting one. But in terms of this Anomaly squad, ooh, they're taking on Iliad Artemis, another one of those teams that had some good moments last season. Unfortunately, missed out on those playoffs by a little bit as well.
Yeah, and I think that game against Iliad Artemis for Anomaly is going to be one that you could look at as, hey, they got better as the series went on. If they VOD a little bit, go back into the lab. This is definitely a map and a series that they could really build upon. I mean, they got better as it went on. There are still a couple misplays here and there. I mean, we definitely saw it there, especially on map 1s and map 3. A little bit Bingus maybe going a little bit too far up, was able to get themselves out of a lot of those problems in map 3. So already quick improvement there. The DPS line really stepped up as well. You go back to how they played on map 1. Remember, 20 elims to 43 map 1. After that, the elims combined for the DPS lines always favored Anomaly, and that was where you were really starting to see a lot of these games turn, where Anomaly was having that DPS line pick up. It just was the difference of the tank here tonight, as I kind of already mentioned, where Leo was able to do so much, especially against Bingus and Zika there, which, hey, I like having that kind of dual tank playstyle or dual tank rotation. You can always bring them into play at certain playstyle you want here, which, especially for some teams coming down the line here who might only have one, will help you out a decent amount here. But that support lines for both sides, I think they did as good as they possibly could. No, maybe one or two mistakes here and there, but that's kind of what you expect from supports. Don't expect them to have perfect games. They were great on both sides here, but Anomaly, like I said, this is definitely a game or a series that you could build off of, especially going into Friday, where you have a quick turnaround against Iliad Artemis.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see that matchup when that happens. Of course, that's not the one we'll be covering, as we're covering another game that we're pretty excited about. Two teams that also missed out on playoffs last season. That's a matchup between Boot Troop and In Control. Same time, just happens to be on Friday. But real quick, in terms of what's going on now, Dex, the matches that are still currently going on, because this one obviously finished a bit early. A couple of interesting ones to note. Amplify is currently up 2-0 on Shikigami right now, currently on match point, playing over on Runasapi. Iliad Artemis, we just talked about them. They're currently tied up 1-1 with Shikigami Midori right now. With Midori was one of the really strong teams we got to see last season. The team that ended up playing 20 maps in the playoffs, going
Map 5 Warriors themselves.
The actual Map 5 Warriors. Imotep going against Hivemind, currently 2-1 in favor of EDM. And Young and Beautiful, just trying to have another good start of the season. They're currently up 2-0 on Nightmare Rotation. So, I mean, overall, some of it is what we expect, but the Amplify squad that struggled a lot obviously did a bit of rebuilding, and apparently, for what it is right now, it seems to be working out well.
Yeah, especially going up against Shikigami here tonight. Hey, the week 1 matchups, I always feel like are ones that you have to really take with a grain of salt, because kind of like I said coming into this into this game here, or after map 1, you can scrim and you can have all the scrim bucks in the world, but once it becomes a real match, it's going to be different stakes. You're going to have a little bit more pressure put onto you here. So you're going to have to get kind of comfortable playing these games. So probably after this week, going into next week, you're going to see teams kind of settle down a little bit and probably play back to the styles that we were seeing a lot last season, whether they came from expert or already here in this Masters tier. But Hunter, I mean, 15 games left or in this season, already won down 14 games left to go here for these two teams. So a lot can still happen. So I like I said, I think if you're Anomaly, you take this game, a lot of stuff you can learn from it here. If you're Extinction 0, this is where you wanted to start off. You want to start off with a clear win to try to let everyone know that you are here and you are the real deal.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to show within that matchup. I think they definitely have a big opportunity to be able to do so. But that's something I'm looking forward to being able to see. But, Dex, in terms of us here in the now, that's going to round things up for the night. Obviously, maybe you wish it wouldn't have been so quick, but with me having to wake up for work in the morning tomorrow, I'm not quite as mad as I originally thought I might be. But no, sincerely, we want to thank y'all for coming out for the first game of the season for us. Obviously, like we said, we had that game on Friday at 9 p.m. EST between Boot Troop and In Control. Should be a good one. And then, of course, obviously, when we figure out our matches for next week, which, by the way, Dex, I already have a pretty good idea of what I would like to do, but we'll figure that out in a whole different conversation. We're not giving you guys spoilers. We're not giving away the schedule yet. We don't give that away for free. That's early access right there.
I mean, we do give it away for free.
Hey, listen. You don't have to tell them that, okay?
Yeah, but hey, it was a good first game for both these teams. Yeah. Extinction 0 gets that 3-0 sweep, like I said, putting themselves off on the right foot here. And I think, they could be one of the better teams here. Keeping the majority of the roster they had, adding some pieces here and there, they look like a scary team here early on.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see that Nightmare rotation game and kind of see them be put more and more to the test as things continue on. But obviously, that's very much for a different day. So one final time, thank y'all for joining us. Please join us again on Friday when we watch that Boot Troop In Control game. But for tonight, please go enjoy the rest of the co-stream still going on with a lot of amazing games. And we'll see you next, or this coming Friday, for some more Faceit League action. See you guys.